it's an interesting dynamic because I think uShaka, all he did, he focused solely on the question of nation building.
Yes.
And nothing else for him. So that's why at some point, soldiers in the army could not resume ordinary sort of family life, because the bigger project for him was the question of African unity.
Yes.
Right? And you'll be surprised because, Tina, as Africans, we've been taught all sorts of nonsensical things. We've been taught to believe we were different, right? So let me tell you a little bit of a story. uShaka was a close friend uMoshoshoe, a close friend uModjadji, a close friend uSobhuza.
Those are all the leaders, most of the Nguni peoples generally.
Very tight.
Or not even Nguni, because Moshoshoe is Sotho.
Yeah, very tight. To a point, for an example, that uMatiwane was harassing uMoshoshoe in the kingdom, the mountain kingdom of
Lesotho.
Lesotho, yeah. So this message is received by uShaka. uShaka gets offended. I mean, who on earth can trouble his friend, uMoshoshoe? And then dispatches an army led by General uMdlaka there to Lesotho to sort out uMatiwane. And of course, they sorted out uMatiwane. So uMdlaka and that contingent of the Zulu army, they spent about 3 days. Yama festivities, because uMoshoshoe was now celebrating with them, defeat uMatiwane and so forth. I'm sure never first I suspect things like that, but nevertheless. So I'm raising this point because then this issue talks to the issue of African unity and solidarity, right? Modjadji, same thing.
I think those are the Bapedi.
Bapedi, yes. Yeah. In the festivities, as I was, for an example, I think Kwabulawai, uModjadji was a common feature. They would come with a delegation who celebrate whatever they were celebrating and so on in Zululand, right? So that's why uMzilikazi is then pursued by uShaka when uMzilikazi was troubling uModjadji, Abapedi, ngesikhathi uMzilikazi ebaleka to the north.
Yes.
So he also dispatched his own army to go and pursue uMzilikazi and bring him to order because he was troubling uModjadji. That's when uDingane no Mhlangana, yes, no Mbopha, who had a plot to kill uShaka, found a perfect opportunity to kill him.
When the army had been dispatched?
When the army was already away, pursuing uMzilikazi in the north, right? So when the army returned, they had no king. The king had already been assassinated, okay? I think the rest is history in terms of what then took place thereafter. Yes. Yeah. So, but in the manner in which we have been grown and taught, it's like Momzuluje, you've got nothing to do with Abapedi Besuthu, about Xhosa and so on.
That's correct.
And that's the colonial teaching. That's the actual manipulation. Otherwise, we're not like that. Africans, by their very nature, and this reminds me of my old man, because he and I, we debated quite a lot of issues, and one of the issues was, is it possible for an African person to be discriminated on the basis of color? It's not anywhere in history. On the basis of color, on the basis of language, on the basis of culture, it's not anywhere in our history. But we have been made to believe these things. Because remember, Abelung, in their effort to colonize us, when they were colonizing us, they needed to find instruments, measures, and methods to do nothing else but capture us, right?
Yes.
And that's what happened, okay? So otherwise, that's why if you go to Lesotho today, you'll find Mlojwa there.
I've heard Utom Lodjo from Lesotho, to be honest.
So you'll find Mlojwa there. They do ufuna noMlojwa lana.
Yeah.
Ngoba sazuthi uMlojwa wangapha ngakithi or
Yes.
something like that. So what distributed all over, precisely because we identified ourselves as one people. And we were so eager ukuthi uyafuna ukuyifunda lengoma efika nomunye umuntu ukuthi hawu hey ngakini nisina kanje or something like that.
Yes.
Yabona. And then ijadu, for an example, is a blend between ukusina kwamaswazi namaZulu.
That's what Ijadu is.
That's what ijadu is. It's a blend, of these cultural sort of dances and whatever, and it's blended. It's called ijadu.
Yes.
Yabona. So
Oh, Mkilicha
I'm
ngiyabonga
sorry.
kakhulu. No, I appreciate the history lesson, and I wish
Okay.
we could be sitting just discussing the history today because there's so much misinformation.
Oh yeah, there is.
There are so many, as you're saying, instruments that have been used, that are still being used today to divide us. I was going to poke further in you to ask if we're saying race was used, if we're saying maybe even things like complexion was used, things like language, things like culture, could we even argue that things like land, sometimes we get told, but this is the land of your people. And you're like, no. Yes, we settled here, but it wasn't in the way that you guys are saying it. We were very happy to always welcome people that are willing to come and work with us. It wasn't just, this is our land, therefore, you're not allowed here, we can't engage.
You must ask yourself a simple question. You know, Ulenda was saying, for an example, I think around the Dundee area, kunobukhosi bakwaMlife. Omlife abesuthu.
That's correct.
So,
Kanjani?
how did that come about? It's a simple thing. They must have moved from wherever,
Yes.
from Lesotho, settled there. But then they got recognized because of their contributions when they were settled there within the kingdom of the Zulu.
Yes.
And therefore,
Kuthiwa nawo umhlaba wenu.
hlala lapho
Khululekani.
emhlabeni, nakhe nobukhosi benu and so on. So the common feature in African life is magnanimity. A very magnanimous abantu abamnyama. And abantu abamnyama have been taken advantage of by colonizers precisely because of that point.
Yes.
If you are respectful, it means you're stupid,
Of course.
according to the white
course.
mentality and so on. If you are if you are able to
Be hospitable.
hospitable and so on, it means you know nothing. So therefore, be taken advantage of and so forth. That's what effectively happened. Shaka, in his encounter, the first encounter with Abelung, two things are argued. The first encounter, they come with this thing here, religion. And Shaka says, hey, so nina uNkulunkulu ongakwazi ukuthethelela. uNkulunkulu njalo. Because angithi there is this concept of burning forever in
hell.
In hell.
Yes.
He says, hey. So Shaka says, hey, tonight here, you commit a transgression. If the sentence is death, it is death.
Correct.
We kill you and we forget. We forgive you.
Yes.
It's done. So it can't be held forever.
Yes.
And I found that argument quite quite interesting about that. Similarly, I think when uMkhonto or something, but figure the medication. Medication. Then I say, and so it's again. You must remember that we may think that it was just a lousy, flimsy thing and so on, but Shaka was strong ideologically, very strong. So that's why it was Wenza, Ebony medication, Western medication for the first time,
Yes.
which would have attracted you and I in modern times. With it must be best technology and whatever and so forth. He was able to say, but this is rubbish. We have our own. And our own has always worked. You know, it's because of the ideological strength. And that's what you and I and any other common citizen requires. If we are to survive as human beings and Africans in particular, we have to know who we are. And we have to be loyal to that which we are, you know, and live for it in pursuance of such an objective.